All right, you ready to go?
Yep, I'm good to go.
Mike Allebach. All right, welcome back to the Awakened Avoidant. Today is episode 36. We bring to you another deposit on the journey towards generational health. Today we have Mike Allebach of Allebach Photography. Is it
Yeah.
Allebach Photography?
Yeah.
And Couples Boudoir Guy on Instagram at Couples Boudoir Guy. That's how
Yeah.
I met Mike through that. I don't know if it was my wife that found it first or me or how it happened, but found you and I was like instantly just attracted to what you had going on, and then came and did some photo shoots and had an awesome
Yeah.
experience. And before I let you go, I wanted to say, this is what I wanted to tell you on camera. I wanted to
Yeah.
thank you because obviously you didn't know us that well, but you reached out to my wife during a trying time in her life, and she was, really appreciative of that. And it's just interesting how small gestures, really impact and can affect people. I didn't know that she was holding on to it like that. Like, we appreciate it, but I didn't know that it had that kind of meaning to her, because she brought it up the other day when I told her that that you were coming in,
Yeah.
and she told me what you did, and then she just burst into tears. I was like, holy shit, just like so impactful. So thank you so much. And you reached out after the passing of her father and just sent a heartfelt letter, and it meant a lot.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, and thank you for
You're
coming.
welcome. Yeah, I'm happy to be
Yeah.
here.
So how have you been?
Yeah. Oh man, it's been it's been a roller coaster, I
Yeah.
would say. So I've been going through a separation and divorce process for the last. Yeah, I left 2 years ago. Um, Kids are involved, so I would say it's been a roller coaster. And then prior to that, 5 years ago, I actually quit using alcohol because I was one of those people that like couldn't stop at one drink. One drink turned into two, turned into five. So it wasn't a good path that I
Yeah.
was on. I was still productive at that time, but actually once I quit, the business started doing better.
Yeah. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Congratulations on,
Yeah.
you said 5 years?
Well, it's going to be 5 years at the end of this month.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Congratulations. A big milestone.
yeah, yeah. What happened was I had been thinking about it. I was like really depressed. The business was kind of struggling. This was 5 years ago. And in July, I was just like drinking way too much, was way too depressed. Was like, yeah, it was causing problems in the business. And so I decided, because I had seen somebody else who quit cold turkey and then started having seizures, had to go into the hospital, that I would like taper down over a month. So I got a case of beer and like had a beer a day throughout August of 2019, and made it to the end of the month. I was reading a book at the same time. I can't remember which one it was, but a book about quitting alcohol. And then in October, after I'd already had like a month, and I was kind of doing it as a trial, like let's see if I'm really an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can actually quit. So I wasn't sure that I wasn't sure that I was totally stopping. I was kind of like, well, I'll give it a couple months and then I can start drinking again, and I'll just do it less. But I was out in California and with some people, and the stars aligned, and I had read an article about mushrooms and how it helped people get through depression and alcohol addiction and all that. And they lined me up. I was like, I had shot a job for them the day before, and the next day they said, hey, you want to do that mushroom journey? And I was like, okay. And I did it, and just like, I would say, like, you kind of get downloads. You can get downloads, and just during my journey, I saw two paths. One was with alcohol, one was without, and it's like you can have everything you want if you let go of the alcohol, or there's death and destruction on the other side of
Yeah.
if you continue. And so I was like, from that point on, it was like what people say, I come to Jesus moment. But it was like I quit and haven't tried since, like, and I never want to pick up again because I'm just not one of those people. I just know I'm not one of those people that can have one drink.
Yeah.
If I could have one drink, then I'd still be drinking, but I can't stop. There's no off button, and people, you know, in recovery programs, you know, a lot of them know that, like, there's just no way that they can ever be a moderate drinker. And like, I don't have problems with people if they want to drink around me, any of that. It doesn't bother me. I just know that I can't be like that.
Yeah. So you know how they say like once an addict, always an addict. You
Yeah.
consider yourself? Did you consider yourself?
Um,
Did you
I,
have a label for it or?
yeah, I feel like it's almost with electronics now and everything. Like, I don't know that I have full blown ADHD, but I have like, this little teenage monster inside of me that, like, sometimes he just gets so like frustrated. And I think for me, that's the, like the kind of ADHD, want distraction, wants those dopamine hits. Like, it's all wrapped up into one thing for me. And it's like this, I just visualize it as this like tiny little teenager throwing like a fit when he's not getting his way. Um, and I think that's like the little addiction monster.
Yeah.
um, you know, because I think it's natural for people to want to avoid uncomfortable situations, and I think some people are more prone to that disposition, and I think I'm one of them. And you know, like, you quit alcohol, and then you have to look at other areas of your life, you know, how you deal with emotions and that kind of stuff. So that's been the journey for the last 5 years, but then it's been in the last 2 years where, like, there's been this bigger catalyst of trying to figure this out, because you know, it's just like a wave of emotions. um, when you have the child custody stuff going on, you have the lawyers trying to drum up drama, and you know, that's how they make their money.
Yeah.
So the more drama they drum up, and you know, being on the other side of a lawyer who wants to drum things up, is like one of the most stressful things, because you know, your kids are involved in that,
Yeah.
indirectly, but they're still like the pawns in this game, you know, that they play.
Yeah. That's
So
unfortunate. I
yeah,
hope myself to never have to venture into
yeah,
that. Yeah, I didn't know
yeah,
that you were going through all that. When you said the business was suffering, was this before? I'm going to backtrack a little bit and try to gather what you pitched out there. Was this before you had switched and navigated to doing the couples boudoir photography? Like, how did you enter into photography in general? What did you
yeah.
begin? How did you begin?
So it was just like a hobby. I was like taking photos at like punk rock, you know, shows, like little ones, like
Mm.
local ones. Um, and it was just a fun thing for me. I was also a graphic artist at the time, for a local company, and they would from time to time need photos. This is back, you know, way back, like 2001. So digital cameras were like a newer thing. I used them in high school a little bit, but I had to ask my boss to get a digital camera to take photos of the things that we needed photos of. So I worked for like a local kind of home improvement, like a Home Depot, but locally, and you know, that kind of company. So I would have to take pictures of kitchens and baths, and just different like paint cans, all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
So I had to teach myself. Like, so I had a little studio. I researched stuff on the internet, figured some stuff out, and then had some mentors that helped. But yeah, I was just using a little 3 megapixel Nikon camera. And in the meantime, I had an SLR for myself, a film one.
Mm.
And I was going to concerts and shows, taking photos. And eventually people were like, "Can you photograph my wedding for like $200?" So that's kind of how it started, way, way back. The business started in 2006. as a wedding photography company.
Okay.
And then kind of combining that punk rock show vibe, I was like, I don't see any photos with tattooed brides in them. So I went down that path and offbeat weddings and did a lot of fun weddings. And those people ended up starting in like 2017, 2018, becoming the clients who did couples boudoir. They were definitely more open. They were already tatted up,
Yeah.
more open to an experience of being photographed in their underwear or naked.
Hmm.
So yeah, so that's kind of how things changed. So since like 2017, 2018, it became my primary thing. It was just like that month of July, I had a lot of cancellations and was worried about the business and money and all that kind of thing. So that's where like these feelings of depression and anxiety and hopelessness came from, and led me to drink more. And then I was like, this is not working.
Yeah.
Like, this is not making my situation better. And so I picked up um, one of the books I picked up was this guy, Alan Carr, which has one on smoking and drinking. Um, I think it's the easy way to quit alcohol. And so the other book that I read around that time was This Naked Mind. So between Alan Carr's book and This Naked Mind, like the two of them really set the stage. So all that information was in my mind. And then I think it combined with how mushrooms work. So I was like primed um, to kind of really get this message. And for people who have worked with mushrooms in a therapeutic way, they know that it's almost like a therapist jumps in your head, but the therapist is you, or you're downloading information almost like from the universe. But they're like symbols, and they're not all things to take literally.
Yeah.
They're figurative things and symbols and signs, but it helps get you to a place where just by experiencing almost this unreality, you hold on to these ideas of reality a little less tightly, like all those lies that get stuck in your head, and just black and white thinking like loosens up. It like loosens that grip up.
Yeah.
And that's what it did for me, just on a lot of things. It loosened up that grip on and the hold that alcohol had. Like from that, from a logical level, yeah, I knew that alcohol wasn't working for me, but like it helped to have that like download from a higher self or the universe or whatever you want to call it, while on mushrooms in that journey, to really like say, you know what, like I really need to stop. Like this has to be the end. Like this is not working for me.
Yeah.
And I just like felt that joy flooding back in, like during the whole experience. Like I remember laughing for like 20 minutes straight. And then after that, like I remember just crying until like just mucus was like pouring out. It was so gross. It was just pouring out of me. After I got done laughing, just all these tears and like all these emotions just like poured out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got kind of like this magical reset from it.
That's interesting. The way you just described that is amazing. Just the releasing of all the emotions and all of it being pent up inside of you, and then using alcohol as a way of self-medicating is how they describe it. What do you think after having experienced, like, do you know what was the source of it all? Like, what was steering you into that way to the lifestyle where you needed to self-medicate?
I think running a business is difficult. That was part of it. Like in the end, they're all just like kind of excuses.
Yeah.
But like, it is hard to deal with. I think, especially for guys, hard to deal with emotions and like. I think there's a push for men to suppress emotions from anger, sadness, all of them. Like you just kind of have to bottle it up. But there's healthier ways of dealing with things.
Yeah.
There are appropriate ways to dealing with feelings and emotions. But I think, I had all these stressors in my life. And so numbing, which is what alcohol did,
Hmm.
numbing was, I guess, my go-to. Like if I just didn't have to feel it all, then I felt a little bit better. But the next morning you wake up with a headache and
Yeah. Feeling like shit.
yeah, yeah. So it was like, you kicking the can down the road, but making your problems worse in the end. So,
Yeah.
now it's so logical for me. Like I know, like I can't get away from this. Like I just have to deal with things. Like so.
Yeah. I want to ask you about your Instagram, if you don't mind. Your Instagram, obviously, it's been very successful. Did that begin when you began doing boudoir photo shoots? Like, when did the success of your business start to take off?
Well, the business got known for the whole tattooed bride thing.
Okay.
So, like, I took that label. People started calling me the tattooed bride photographer first. They were like, you're the guy that does the photos of the tattooed brides. And I got associated with a site called Offbeat Bride. And I had a really good partnership with them. I wrote some articles for them. And I like kind of partnered with them on a bunch of stuff. We were advertising on the site, and they were just like a perfect match. So a lot of people at the time were really looking for like unique wedding ideas and that permission to be themselves.
Yeah.
Like if they were into Lord of the Rings and wanted to have a Lord of the Rings wedding, like Offbeat Bride was the place. So even if the clients weren't tattooed, they had these fun, unique ideas, or they wanted to just bring a little bit of themselves to the wedding and not have a cookie cutter wedding.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the beginning, and then it transitioned into the couples boudoir
Yeah.
stuff.
Is there a large market for that sort of photography, or was that like a niche that you filled a void in the beginning,
Um,
or?
in the beginning, like there were not many people in the United States doing couples boudoir.
Mhm.
There is a lot of people doing boudoir, but now more photographers are doing boudoir, But in 2017, 2018, it was like pretty much I was at least in the area, I was the guy. And I know that there's always been people doing like more like sexual kind
Mhm.
of shoots, that kind of thing. That's always been around, but this a little bit more accessible. You can just strip down to your underwear thing. There just weren't that many people in the United States doing it. So in the beginning, it was really easy to get people to come in.
Mhm.
But still, to this day, there's a lot of boudoir photographers that won't do couples boudoir.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. But now there's tons of boudoir photographers. A lot of them came from either family photography or wedding photography and kind of retired from those or just do those a little bit on the side and then do solo boudoir.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
Because when I first, my first idea of what boudoir is or was, it was just singular. It
yeah.
wasn't couples. And then, yeah, you really, when I was introduced to you, it was like the first time I'd ever seen, heard of it, or even thought about doing it. And when I came and did it with you, it was, you have a lot of ideas of what it's going to be about, but it's very comfortable. Like I would advise everyone to go do it because it's extremely liberating,
Yeah.
and you provide, I would say, a service. Well, I'll just to tell you my story. We came to you at a time where, you have ups and
Yeah.
downs, and we kind of like we could use a pick me up. We were trying to have kids. It wasn't exactly working out, so we had to go
Yeah.
different methods. So we were just kind of down about that. So when we came to see you, it was just for like, like a shot in the arm, kind of a boost.
Yeah.
And you definitely gave that to us, just the whole vibe of it. It was extremely comfortable. It was anything that you think it is, it probably isn't. It's so much more comfortable than even I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty like open about that kind of stuff. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I came into this world naked, like I don't,
Yeah.
I don't mind. I don't mind.
Yeah.
I'll take the
Yeah.
pictures. Like, let's do it all. And you only got one life to live, you know? Like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna
Yeah.
do? Like, I'm not gonna leave this earth without doing something that looks as cool as that with my
Yeah.
wife. Like, I want to experience all the things. Like, let's do them
Yeah.
all. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw that, your thing was Couples Boudoir page is extremely successful. But I also wanted to ask you, this is kind of a diversion, as far as Instagram goes, because, like a lot of people are trying to successfully navigate it and accomplish what you've accomplished as far as building an audience. Has all of that been organic, and do you have any trouble with it? Because I know there's been times where I've seen a lot of your stuff just boom, 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 and then there's been times where it feels like it gets kind of muted.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah. I feel like I'm always fighting against the algorithm.
Okay.
Like, I think, politically and stuff, like people get sensitive about because we're not showing full nudity on Instagram. We're
Mm-mm.
just showing people in their underwear, and there's times where it does get suppressed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do. Like, we pay for a lot of ads, like off and on. Like, we go through cycles. So we do right now. We're doing advertising on Instagram, and it's growing, but it's difficult. Like, you always have to, whatever the new thing is in a service, you got to try it out.
Yeah.
Like, so for a while it was Reels. Reels were able to bring people in, and we're finding more like there's just all these things where people are saying to post most of your content as stories, and then post like 2 reels a week, and then a carousel or two a week. Like, but a while ago it used to be like posting three single images a day was where you got clients. So it's always changing, and a lot of people are actually having success by going on threads and building their threads, and then because they're so closely
Uh-huh.
linked. So I've been trying to go on threads because you can gain a lot of people on threads right now, because that's, again, they always want you using their newest
Yeah.
thing,
Uh-huh.
their newest feature. So threads is really like gaining some traction. It's a really positive place, whereas like Twitter went kind of negative.
Yeah.
Threads, the algorithm supports just like positivity, and kind of works like TikTok, where your interests start popping up.
Yeah.
So
You're
like,
right. Yeah, you're
yeah,
right. Because I do only now that I think about it, I only see it only sends me like positive messages, and it sends me things that it thinks that I'll be interested in, and it's
yeah,
usually all positive. Yeah.
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 Or like local base, like people put in like, who was a Philly business owner, like, and so that kind of stuff is what's showing up on Threads. So it's easy to grow organically, and so in the last month I've been trying that out. But you always have to figure out their their algorithm. It's
Yeah.
like chasing something that's impossible to chase.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's very
so
interesting that part. Even with this, I know that you do have to like follow the trends, and like it's
yeah,
like in life, like following a trend, they change by the minute.
yeah,
So like I don't even do it because it's
yeah.
like you're gonna be chasing it forever, like
Oh
chasing
yeah,
the dragon. So I don't know.
yeah,
I just figured maybe if you can do something that's cool, maybe just set the trend rather than follow it. I
yeah,
don't actually know how it works, but
yeah,
you've been more successful than I've been. So yeah, I was just
yeah,
wondering. And then you got a
yeah.
lot of people.
We're finding out advertising reels right now is what's working. Putting a little bit of money behind the reels so that people see.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but business, like, you got to evolve, and everything's always changing. I can do something for 2 or 3 years and it works great, and then got to keep on tweaking things a little
Yeah.
bit. And the people that evolve grow, and the people that are stuck in their ways, business is hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Because especially in a creative environment, like you got to be at the pinnacle
Yeah,
of creativity, or else
yeah,
you're gonna get lost in the sauce for sure.
yeah,
Even considering what you do, which is like kind of easier to get eyes on because of what it is.
yeah,
But yeah, I love what you do because I don't know, in a world where we're like using everyone to make money and do this and do all that, like you're actually giving something back. Like I love the exchange because no matter what it costs, like when I first I was like, damn. But when you
yeah,
see it, you're
yeah,
like, When you see it, once I finally got all the photos, I was like, oh shit, I'll pay whatever for this. Like, I
Yeah,
don't care what
yeah,
they cost. Give me them all. But I didn't do that. I got like 15 of them, but I
yeah,
wanted like all 30 of them.
yeah,
But I was like,
yeah,
damn, I don't know if I can do the five. But,
yeah,
but yeah, either way, you're providing something from people. It's not just take, you're
yeah,
giving something that makes people feel good. And who doesn't want to do something like that? The fact that
yeah,
you're able to do that and find a way to monetize and make money off of something while giving and not just taking is awesome. So
yeah.
congratulations on finding that space for yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's cool because people, like you were saying, people come in, um, they might be looking for a gift, but there's usually something going on behind the scenes. Like it's pretty common for couples to come in when they're trying to, trying to have a baby, trying to get
Hmm.
pregnant, um, like, or they're going through a little bit of like not a huge rough patch, but
Hmm.
just like maybe it feels a little stale.
Yeah, you want to spark it up a little bit.
Yeah, they want to spark it up. Or it's like from the other side of it, they've been together for 15, 20, 30 years. And they're like, this person is my person. Like, and I just want to celebrate that. But there's also a lot of people that come in like with sickness, with cancer, like they've gone through it and they've like just gotten to the other side. Or sometimes when that diagnosis happens, they want to come in before they have a surgery, and do a session. So like I get to be around people in a really like it almost feels like a sacred time in their life,
Hmm.
and getting to see like when they see the photos for the first time up on the screen because we have the experience and then they get to see the photos in the same day. It's like a 5 to 6 hour day, as you know, um, after hair and makeup and the photo session. When they get to see the photos for the first time, that's my favorite part because they're like they're like looking at each other and they're like that's us like
Yeah.
and like that's them without Photoshop, without anything. They're getting to see themselves like straight out of camera right after the session, and it's so rewarding for me to get to see that. And then they get to have that artwork in their home, whether it's an album, whether it's on the wall, just as a reminder of what they mean to each other. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
You're creating magic. Like literally, I
yeah.
wish maybe sometime during this I might drop like one or two of my photos in there.
Nice.
And I
Yeah.
like that. I like that you get involved with it too. Like when I see some of your page sometime and I see what you post, I'm like, damn, he's really going for it. It's awesome. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
why not? You only live once, right? Well,
Yeah. Well, and I like, yeah, well, I have to, what is it? You got to smoke what you sell.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense.
So
Okay.
like, sometimes I do some of the posing. It's fun for me to do, especially if it's a solo boudoir session, for me to do like the feminine poses because everybody just gets a laugh out of it. It
Yeah.
looks goofy when I do like what we're having our female clients do in solo
Hmm.
sessions. Um, but you got to have like a good time with it, and also that people love seeing that it's not so serious.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the times couples are laughing together because they love each other, they're having a good time, and I think that that's part of the experience. It's not all sexy. It's also we have a good time together.
Yeah. Yeah. You're having fun shifting from this spot to that spot, changing clothes and everything.
Yeah.
I imagine it wasn't always what it is now or when I came to you,
Mm-hmm.
like creating that sort of environment where people just feel like super comfortable and very free. How did you go about like curating that?
I mean, I think it initially started with me working with clients who wanted to bring themselves into the wedding. Like, I kind of started picking up on cues and just people would pitch clients or pitch ideas that they, I don't know, they maybe were a little bit unsure to pitch to somebody else, like bringing in horror themed or whatever. Like they wanted to know that the photographer that they were using was safe in that idea. So I think that kind of primed me for um, couples boudoir.
Yeah.
So I just think like just holding like it's a genuine thing, holding that non-judgmental space for
Hmm.
people, like in the plant medicine world, it's called holding space. It's just like being there, being able to be present with people while they are themselves working through their process. Um, it's the same for photography. Like if they can read on your face that you're like judging them, judging what they're wearing, judging their body, then that's going to come through.
Yeah.
But if they can read that you're just like positively taking in the experience and just creating this safe space for them, like they can feel that. Like if the door closes and then you're talking trash on the clients, like that just doesn't work. People
Yeah.
can subtly up on those energies. Also, like potentially your advertising, would pick up on that. And we show, clients of all backgrounds, of all um, sizes, of all body types, of nationalities, of we're very LGBTQ friendly, and we've been more recently working with a lot of trans clients and people who want to do gender play and just explore different things without judgment. So you have to really be that person. You can't like fake that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Absolutely not.
people pick up on that.
Yeah, for certain. Yeah, it's extreme. It's extremely inclusive. Like that's the part that I like about it when I go and check it out. It's like
Yeah.
you don't know what you're gonna get. You know,
Yeah.
it's just such a range of everything. And I just as you get older, man, it's just comforting to see people just expressing themselves and however they feel. You know, whatever
Yeah.
feels authentic to them. Like do it. You're going to die someday. Like
Yeah.
don't go to your grave without being who you want to be.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I love that about
Yeah.
about what you do.
Yeah, we definitely we have fun with it, and it's rewarding because like that those people looked at other websites, at other people, and they were like, no, this company, that's the one that's going to be safe enough for me to go to and explore myself in this session.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even think about that. That's like a lot of that what you're getting through the messaging as you're just picking through because you're just looking at photos really and you're
Yeah,
getting like a vibe or a sense
yeah,
of comfortability through it and then people come,
yeah.
yeah, that's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you. So,
So
yeah, you're doing a lot there. You got a
yeah.
lot going on. But where were you born originally?
I was born real local. I was born in Souderton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't know. I
Yeah.
just assumed that you were not from around here.
Yeah.
Just like any area, maybe it was just me. It's not always that sort of openness. Like I don't know, in this area in general, it's like people are kind of inward in their shell, or maybe that was just me too, or maybe just the community of people that I surrounded myself with. So yeah, it's just nice to see people just do what you want to do.
Yeah.
As I get older, just do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And the fact that
Yeah.
you create a place for people to just be what they want to be, just do what you
Yeah.
want to do.
Yep.
Without
I
judgment.
love
Like,
that.
like what else is there? So once that starts taking off for you, that genre of photography, pigeonholed? Are you stuck in that, or can you do whatever? Well, obviously, you can do whatever you want to do, but do you do other things, or is it specifically that now?
Um, so we still do family photography. We do headshots. We even do a little bit of corporate photography. So we have companies that want us to come in, do headshots. So in my mind, if I can take a photo of someone naked, I can definitely
Yeah,
take a photo with somebody with their clothes on.
yeah,
So yeah, as long as they're gonna see the other stuff on our website. So as long as they're comfortable with the fact that we do the other stuff, we're able to do corporate photography. We do have a separate website that we can send out that's just like headshots
mm,
or just corporate photography. So yeah, and that kind of stuff, it's nice to mix it up a little bit
yeah,
and go into other spaces and do other things.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you push? Well, yeah, you definitely push. I was gonna say, do you push the boundaries? But do you have any boundaries with that? Like, is there any limitations, or as far as creating goes, are you trying to like push the envelope
Yeah.
with that?
I think I would say the boundaries are more on the phone. Like you can figure out like we get this weird situation where people call in and I don't think they have any interest in actually booking a session. Like it's a it's a free call. So they're not like necessarily pranking us. They're getting the value out of the phone call
Mm-hmm.
and they just want to talk about their fantasies of being photographed
Mm.
and after a while, so that's where it kind of comes in like like they they are enjoying the phone call a little too much and that's when I like pivot to money for the it's rare we don't get too many of these phone calls but they're like usually like really graphic and I just pivot right to money like
Mm.
because it's like I wouldn't do that with other people but like it's like okay well let's talk about how much this costs like um because yeah there's just like and it's probably one out of 50 calls, but you're like, they don't seem very interested. They seem like they want to talk about what they want to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's rare people. That's when I just instead of like hanging up on them, but sometimes we have, if they get really like graphic and just vile, um, if they start talking about like being involved with us like that's like a deal where like we're taking photos
Yeah.
we're it's not like a thing
Yeah.
so yeah I would say that's like the boundary we're the photographers they're the subjects
Yeah.
we do full nude photo shoots and I tell people the other thing is like we were not doing videos so some of people's ideas I'm like that's more like a video idea
Yeah.
like there's other people that'll like I guess they want like a porn video and that's
Yeah.
just not something that we do but we will do like full nudity
Uh-huh.
full nude photo shoots but it's photos it's not video there's not like motion
Yeah.
kind of thing so
Yeah.
yeah yeah
That's
that's where we draw the line no video
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love it. It's interesting to me that um, I feel like if you're not interested in it, just don't look at it. Like
yeah
people, because I've been, like I look through your comments and I probably posted some positive comments before, but
yeah
people post like, negative hater. Like obviously they exist in the world, but to
yeah
me, it's such a strange way to spend your time in
yeah
someone's comments
yeah
posting hate or shit. Like I just
yeah
don't understand it. Like if you don't like it, just don't look at it. Like you don't have to
yeah
be here. It's like moving to the desert and complaining about the heat. Like just go somewhere else. I don't get it.
yeah
I don't understand why people are like that with it. It's like they want to
yeah
stop you from existing or they want to stop it from existing. Like
yeah
why? I don't.
I, I think those people are stuck in themselves. Like they don't there's something inside of them unresolved. Like they're stuck with they're just not comfortable with the idea of sex, they're not comfortable with the idea of nudity or whatever it is. They can't release that part in themselves and so they feel the need to express like the phrase yuck somebody else's yum like they're yucking somebody else's yum
Hmm. I never heard that. I like that though.
yeah so I think that comes like I got a preview into that with the wedding photography I would say that had even more negative like because people have this idea of a sacred wedding and then as soon as you start bringing in like really massive amounts of creativity
Mm.
like well like you're the the person officiating the wedding shouldn't be in all like an all black goth
Yeah.
outfit or whatever it is so I think there was a lot of negativity, or why does that bride have so many tattoos? Was some of the comments. Because back when I was doing that, 2008, 2009, you just wouldn't see that outside of two websites, Rock and Roll Bride and Offbeat Bride. You weren't seeing brides with tattoos, and now tattoos are mainstream,
Yeah.
like much more mainstream, at least in most most urban areas. so it's not as big of a deal, and like that's kind of the pivot away, because it's like my job wasn't as needed anymore in that space.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's interesting. I guess because I like what you do, I don't think much about the negative aspect of it. Like I just only think of the positive. So I just didn't imagine that there's a group of people that look at what you're doing as like denigrating or,
Yeah.
desecrating the sanctity of this holy
Yeah.
situation by, existing outside of how they think it should be done. So like
Yeah.
it's interesting. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be stuck on it, but it's like
Yeah.
it's so like it's like this big, like
Yeah.
the space
Yeah.
for thinking that allows you to think that way is just like the world's so big and so expansive. Just let go of that. Like you were saying, whatever has you there, you're stuck. You
Yeah.
need to let go of whatever is having you trapped in this fixed view of what you think things should be. It doesn't make any sense, man. Things should be everything.
Yeah.
Like it can be everything.
People get stuck in black and white thinking. I mean, we all do, and it's just different subjects. Like, but the people that are hating on what I do, they're stuck on it in, especially like different body types. Like there are people that see their own body type, and they will comment negatively instead of positively. Instead of, oh, you're representing somebody that looks like me. There's people that just like, I think, hate themselves so much that they see a body type like theirs, and it brings up something inside of them.
Yeah, some sort of
Yeah.
self-loathing type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. What we're talking about, you wouldn't think that it would just like open the world to expose. There's just so many problems. Like we're all, like you said earlier, which is what we wanted to talk about.
yeah.
Like we're all dealing with something. I remember what my question was. When people come to you and they're in such a vulnerable state, like when we came to you, like it's not like I was going to tell you, hey, I'm Sean and my way tip, and we're fragile right now, like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
crumble at any moment. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's a lot in your hands, to
Yeah.
really to try to navigate. Like, are you aware of it now? Like, how do you handle that, knowing that people are coming to you in a pretty fragile state sometimes,
Yeah.
and you have to kind of,
I think some people do tell us what's going on.
okay,
Especially the way that we do our discovery phone calls, and kind of, I, I, I try to figure out, what prompted them to call. But not everybody
mm,
tells you. But I assume that either it's one side or the other. It's celebration, or it's a little bit of needing a little bit of pep
yeah,
in themselves or in their relationship. If it's solo boudoir, a lot of times it's like a birthday, which is celebration, or just needing that little bump of confidence, self-esteem, which solo boudoir is so good for. Um, so yeah, I think we're exploring different ways to kind of um, really work with that idea. We have actually like sound healing tools in the studio now. This is real recent, but we've had people jump in sound healing. Um, in we have a giant sound healing bowl that can kind of center them. We've done things like had people pull oracle cards. We try and work within the space that people are in and what they're comfortable with. But if we can pick up on something, I've taken people through breath work to kind of calm them down, or just even like as simple as like shaking your sillies out like you would do with a kid.
mm,
Like we've had people come in and they're just like, I'm so nervous, I'm so nervous, I'm so nervous. And I just like demonstrate just like shaking my body like a little kid
yeah, to
dancing
let it go.
around. Yeah, just letting it out, and that can be so powerful. So we've been able to even give people tools. I've sent people like audio files, all different things, sound healing, sound frequency stuff, or taught people like special kinds of breathing, done the sound healing stuff. So anything like that. And with couples, we've brought in some um, tantric practices with eye gazing, and that's something that's super powerful. Like the tantric practice is you can either kind of alternate your breaths, so your partner is breathing out and you're breathing in, and you're both looking with your like left eye into each other's left eye. And if you do that for like 3 minutes, like 3 minutes doesn't sound long, but for breath work, 3 minutes can be a while. But if you stare into your partner's one eye for 3 minutes, like it's almost like a psychedelic experience where their face starts shifting, like they can turn into like an animal, like, but it creates this like deep bond. So we've been experimenting with some of that stuff when it seems like couples would be open, but I usually try more recently, this is like in the last year, of just get starting with that eye connection. And I joke with people, I'm like, you're going to be looking into each other's eyes, more than you have in the last X number of years, since you've had your wedding day.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it. People don't even realize, like, they're so busy, they're running around doing whatever. We all have our phones. Like, I'm guilty of that. But like looking into your partner's eyes for extended periods throughout the session is really powerful,
Yeah.
in creating that connection. So whereas like the couple may have argued on the way to the photo shoot or whatever, if I can, after hair and makeup, have that eye gazing technique, and these are techniques that are, hundreds and thousands of years old. They're not new. They've been used, just not very much in the United States, but they've
Yeah.
been used, in India and the Hindu culture, and all those different cultures have had this kind of stuff, and it just is, over the last 50 years has slowly been coming over here. But again, it's like all this stuff is a little bit of work. You got to put in the work, got to put in the time, and the session turns that into something that's fun. They're getting this connection in their eyes, and they're looking deeply into each other's eyes, and they're slowing down, and their phones are away, and they're getting that quality time that maybe they haven't had in years.
Yeah, you're creating a real space.
Yeah.
Interesting, the way that you just described that all, because when I think of, when we think about the monetary exchange, I personally was just thinking about it for the photos, but really it's so much more than that. And I imagine
Yeah.
like you don't write that all down in it, but you're getting much more than just photos. Like you're
Yeah.
getting like a whole reset. That's like a whole
Yeah.
experience that we all need. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I didn't even think of it like that. I'm glad
Yeah.
that you just descriptively explained
Yeah.
that. That's amazing, really.
Yeah, and so, I mean, some of it's newer what we're doing. Of course, when you do the session, like there was still a lot of eye gazing, but
Mm,
now, if we have the time, if it seems like they need it, we're trying to do that more. And also, a lot of people are coming in and experimenting a little bit with BDSM. We have restraints in there,
mm,
and I think those power dynamics, if people have never played around with them, we don't do anything rough, but like just, being cuffed into a space, we have under bed restraints, that kind of stuff, opens up, like, afterwards, I know a lot of clients purchase things for their own home
mm,
that they got to use in the studio. Like
yeah,
we have, what's called a St. Andrew's cross, which, you can get tied into, or you can just hold on to the rings. But there's been clients that have purchased one of those.
really. That
They're
whole
they're
big X
big.
thing.
Yeah,
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 I saw
yeah. The
that.
big
Yeah,
X that you're
yeah,
holding on to.
yeah. I didn't know that it was
Um,
called that.
yeah. So that, like, people get to try things out. Like, it is a little bit of
Hmm.
experimentation. In the studio, we have the famous yoga couch that if you type yoga couch into Google,
That comes
you'll
up.
see what it is. But they're actually like, if anybody's watched the How to Build a Sex Room show on Netflix, they feature this couch, which can be used for yoga, but most people have it in their home for sex purposes.
Yeah.
But it's a couch that gives you a lot of position. So for photography, it just gives me a lot of ways to position clients for sexy photos.
Yeah, your space is amazing. I was gonna comment the other day, like if there was a kitchen in there, I would live in there. Like I love it.
Yeah.
It reminds me of something from the movies, because it is,
Yeah.
that's what it is, just an artistic space, and
Yeah.
it's got the windows overlooking, I mean, just
Yeah.
overlooking the street, but
Yeah.
it's nice. It's just open. It's, I don't know. It looks like a space for creativity,
Yeah.
basically. It's like
Yeah.
perfectly for that, just everything.
Yeah. It's got those industrial single pane windows. I call it like a Brooklyn loft if people,
Yeah.
if people have ever been in a business in, a factory in Brooklyn or somewhere like that.
Yeah, it's
If it's
that.
from the 1800s. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
It's amazing. You pivoted perfectly there. I appreciate you for doing that. Thank you. The practices that you described, I think you mentioned like three or four. It was breathing, sound bowl. What were the
Yeah.
other?
So we're just starting to bring in like sound healing stuff. So there's sound bowls, the crystal sound bowls, and we have some metal ones. We have this giant one from Tibet that you actually stand in, and it kind of like centers your whole body. Um, so it's that, the breath work. I'm trying to think what else.
I thought you mentioned a
But
couple of things, but I wanted
yeah,
to ask you, were these things introduced because you found they became available to you along your healing journey? Is that how you had
yeah,
brought them
yeah.
into the practice?
Yeah, so I think like the way the business is heading, as I've experimented with things um, in my own healing journey, like um, figuring out what works to either bring my energy up, like if you're feeling repressed and depressed, um, what works to kind of mitigate that that's not alcohol. Um, so things that I've found that work in my own life, and also things that help with the anxiety, like the other side of that energy that's just like pent up, or that like angry little teenage addiction demon
Yeah.
that's frustrated with how things are going, and how to dispel that energy. So I've gone to like some sound healing events locally, and I was like, what if we combined it? So we've had clients in that have been doing solo boudoir, and we will, like, if it feels right, we'll break out a sound bowl and put it on them, and they'll get to experience that, and we'll take photos of them in that
Mm.
experience. Um, so that's something that's worked, and yeah, that tantric practice that involves a real light breath work. But for me, I've tried out EMDR, which is the shifting your eyes back and forth, while either there's scripts that you can read or therapists that can go through it, and I've done both. So there's, it's just like a bouncy ball. You can even find them on YouTube, and it helps you to revisit like complicated spaces, and it sort of loosens up those ideas, like that black and white thinking,
Yeah.
or that experience. They came about it from people. It's basically sort of like if you could walk and talk with your therapist, because when you walk, you're like scanning the horizon. So I've tried that. I've tried tapping. Tapping's great, um, where you just tap on different points in your face and your body. Same thing while like going through a script. Like you can say really negative things and then say really positive things. Um, and, that works really well. And what else? And that really, like, you can't do mushrooms or ayahuasca or anything every day. Like,
Yeah.
so what are the things that are gonna like shift energy in your life on a daily basis? And I think the most powerful thing for me has been breath work. And you had mentioned cold plunges. That's another one that can like really, like if you're in a negative place and you jump in water with ice or a really cold stream,
Mm.
like that shifts your mind and your body pretty quickly. But breath work, especially in a group setting, is so powerful. It's, at, at the beginning of my separation, I went to an ayahuasca experience, and like that's that sacred jungle medicine from like the Amazon, and you ingest it, and like you have visions, but you're in a room with the facilitator and all these other people, and music is going, but you're hearing everybody scream and cry, and they're throwing up. It's very intense, but that's just not something that you can do every day. It
Yeah.
takes you out for like six hours, and you wouldn't be very productive if that's what you did every day. So, like breath work is, I think, like something that can be done. Like you can do it for three. I think this morning I did it for 6 minutes, and you wouldn't believe how powerful those 6 minutes. Like you can do rounds of about 3 minutes, and if one isn't enough, you do a second, and if a second isn't enough, you do a third, and you're just breathing in and breathing out. It's like, and you're not stopping in between the two, and that like shifts your mindset like almost magically.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about the why behind, like, you said these practices have been around for thousands of years. Like, we all have heard of them, but well, not we're all, but we're kind of just being introduced to them. We're reintroduced to them all. Have you ever thought about like why that is? Like, why when you go somewhere, like I went to the doctor the other day, the first thing they want to tell me is like, give me a pill. But they don't talk about any of the stuff that you're talking about to try to,
Yeah.
balance things out or to get yourself in a better state of mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that um, like what people call the collective consciousness, I think that we're interested in those things. Like I think like a lot of generations before us kept their thoughts and emotions to themselves.
Yeah.
So I think this is kind of like, it's always a pendulum moving. So I think the pendulum has moved to, well, let's deal with this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Figuring out a way. What was the first practice that you found that worked for you in your journey?
Hmm. I would say meditation.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was meditation, like guided meditations. But now, and I still do guided meditations, but I think for a lot of people, especially, it's fun because I've been to two group breathwork sessions in like the last month and a half,
Mm.
and hearing first timers talk at the end, which is called the integration portion, you get to hear them be like, oh my God, like this was amazing. Like, and you'll hear people cry and laugh during them. They realize how powerful breath work is, and maybe meditation, the way that they were doing it before, didn't work for them. And breath work, I just think is just another style. Um, the most simple style of meditation is just watching your breath anyway. Breath work is just, I think of the difference between them is so nuanced, but it's just, for me, it's like being more intentional with the breath, whereas meditation is watching the breath, watching yourself naturally, and breath work is usually taking a little bit deeper breath into your, full chest, diaphragm, and stomach, usually, and just doing that deeper breath. And if you've never done an hour session, something that happens for me at the 20-minute mark is it becomes almost almost a psychedelic experience where your whole body starts buzzing. That guy that we've talked about before, Wim Hof,
Mm-hmm.
he calls it getting high on your own supply, and even that can happen at like that 10-minute mark or even sooner. But like those emotions get tapped into almost in a psychedelic way at me for like that 20-minute mark, and then you take it all the way up to an hour, and you're just like you're just processing things. You might not even have, like this last time, I didn't have a lot of thoughts behind it, whereas the time before I did. But this time I got to that place of like that meditative peace where like there just weren't a lot of thoughts coming up. And I was just like, and you get done and you just lay there and your body is just like buzzing from head to toe, and you just have this like sense of peace at the end. And then hearing everybody go around and just talk about their experience, it's like, wait, this itself is medicine. Like it's an amazing medicine, and it's just our breath. It's just breathing in deeply and not leaving any pauses between the breath is like one of the most common ways to do these intense sessions. And sounds like easy, but we like sit at our computers with our, hunched over, and
Hmm.
we're just breathing into here, like something that I do. Um, Whereas breath work, you're like, you might even have your shoulders back just a little bit. You're laying down, like something can happen that people nickname like lobster claws, where it's just your body is going into a like psychedelic, not like the consciousness is slightly different. And if you do it for over an hour, a lot of people have visions, like they'll, same as any other psychedelic, 2 3 hours they have full on trips, because the different gases in the blood like CO2 and
Yeah.
oxygen and all those things are changing, and your body's just not used to it, and it just processes like emotions
Yeah, we
so
have a lot of
intensely.
yeah, we have a lot of obviously chemicals inside of us, like
Yeah,
all of it, dopamine, serotonin, like I'm
yeah,
sure all that releases and can make something
yeah,
magical. It's interesting that you realize like as the collective consciousness connects that we have the ability on some level to heal ourselves.
yeah,
Maybe on every level, like it's
yeah,
it's it's within all of us. You can access it if you try, and you need to, because you're taking on like the world's energy, like you said, hunched
yeah,
over at a computer, and it's
yeah,
all in you, like it's in you, repressed. It's in your toes, it's in your hands, it's in your neck, it's
yeah,
everywhere, and you have to have a way to release that. So
yeah,
being intentional about your breath, letting
yeah,
that out, that it does fix you. It's
yeah,
I've been able to control some panic attacks through just being really intentional about breath, and I've also been able to not control some too. And then
yeah,
when that happens, it made me realize that it's something that you have to be consistently working on. Like you can't just be
yeah,
like, oh, I'm cured of it, and then stop, because then it's
yeah,
just building up inside of you. Like you have to always stay on it,
yeah,
because you're only like 1 second or one instance or one situation away from being right back
yeah,
in that, like, and deep in it too. Because
yeah,
I literally just had a brutal panic attack the other day, and I thought I was fine. But I was grateful for it, because to me, those are just signals. It's just a sign from
yeah,
your body that, hey, you got more work to do. So don't forget
yeah,
about what you need to do. So yeah,
yeah,
being intentional about breath is very important.
yeah,
And the guided meditation, I also did one of those one time before too, and it was like you said. At the end, I was like, wow, you just don't know that this is even possible. And
yeah.
yeah, it was amazing, amazing experience. And you offer that now. You offer some of those.
Yeah, so we've actually even had, separately from the boudoir experience,
Mm.
we've had two sound healing workshops at the studio
Oh,
with,
okay.
with some breath work. And it's something that we're going to be offering in the future. I'm getting some training on it right now. So that's something that but just on somebody walks in, they're nervous. Yeah, we might have them shake their shoulders a little bit. And I've had them do like 4-4-4 breath, which is what the Navy SEALs do. It's breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds. And that, like, you just do that. That's not a hardcore breath work. That's just one that you can do in your day to day life when you're just dealing, or those feelings of panic come up. Um, that 4-4-4 is like the magic. It just kind of, like, it doesn't make you tired, it doesn't make you energized, it just keeps you slow and steady, um, and allows you to kind of reset, without doing anything crazy. Whereas the breath work you do in those classes, that's like intense breathing in and breathing out, usually through your mouth, but there's, certain instructors that'll do different through the nose techniques.
Yeah. I did a guided meditation one time with someone that was fairly new at it, but she was still good. She had like the right voice for it, the right tone, the right sort of energy. And like I'd heard people crying all around me for like the first week, second week, and I'm like, I didn't feel it. And then by the third week, we did one. I was like, yeah, just
Yeah,
all came
yeah,
pouring out of me. I was like, holy shit, you just don't see it coming. Like I had
yeah,
no clue. I really, if someone had told me this prior to my experience, and I'm like, come on,
yeah,
it's not. But just interesting. I'm just gonna say me. I probably would be the type of person or have been dismissive of things that I just had no understanding of,
yeah.
prior to. What do you call it? Well, I'm always looking at label something. I need to stop doing that. But the experience at your studio now that you offer, because it sounds like such a it's a larger thing than just photography now that you're.
Yeah.
Do you have any? How do you
Yeah,
describe it
that's
to people when they're coming for it? Like you offer
yeah.
so much now.
Yeah, I don't talk about a lot of the other things because we don't always do them.
Mm,
But if people would request, because I haven't found a way to make it accessible, like a way to, I just haven't found a way without like a long-winded explanation.
mm,
But I think it is like we have kind of used the phrasing of healing journey or those kind of things. I've used the phrase "take your power back," but it's finding ways to be that self healer, finding ways, you know, therapy and all the other things, medicine. They all have their place. They all work great. I've done plenty of therapy in my life, but also realizing that you have tools at your disposal, that you can play a part in your own healing journey.
yeah, you
Um,
have to.
so I think I'm still trying to figure out a way to explain that to people, a way to describe what we do and what we have the possibility of doing. Because the more we can talk about it, then the more we're gonna do it and find those people that want that experience, or people that want to request, hey, I want, the sound healing bowls, I want to do breath work, and I want to do this session and experience it all. Because I think there's something on the horizon with all of this where we do shift a little bit, and maybe that thing gets a name, but we haven't quite found that name yet.
Yeah. It seems like we're all working towards something, doesn't it? Like it's
Yeah.
hard to describe what it is, but with like the way you described it, the collective consciousness kind of all meeting in the internet and everything. It's like seems like we're all doing something, right? But you
Yeah.
just don't know what
Yeah.
it is exactly. That's why when I get on here and I do this, like I don't know, say I feel like it's what I'm supposed to be doing, but it doesn't feel wrong, It
Yeah.
feels right, like something. It kind of feels like well, I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be doing it, basically. I
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah.
I don't know, but if we're all doing
Yeah.
something, it's like we're evolving, like
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the ways that I see it is that there's like a little bit more openness to like people being sober, and a little bit more openness. Like if you go into the store every month, you see more and more like alternatives. So there's all these new seltzers and non-alcoholic beers and stuff where 10 years ago you didn't see those, like specifically on the bottles they say non-alcoholic,
Yeah,
so I think people are looking for alternatives so they can go out, and if their friends are drinking, they can bring a six pack of their own stuff, and that's becoming like more accepted.
yeah,
So yeah, I think the pendulum is swinging.
yeah, yeah. I think you're right. Definitely, society's trying to find a better, more healthier way of managing the what's happening in the world because it's getting pretty heavy out here these days.
Yeah.
I don't know. How was it
Yeah.
for you during the pandemic for photography and everything? Like, was it good time, bad time?
Um, well, when everything shut down, that was rough because I'm like, when am I going to work again?
Yeah,
Like, I legally was not allowed to work. We were shut down. I don't know, for like plus or minus, but for like 4 months. So that time was really really rough, uh, because yeah, I was like out of work, and initially, because I was a business owner, I was not able to get um, like unemployment
Mm.
myself.
Mm.
But they changed the rules about 2 weeks into the pandemic. They were like, oh, and business owners um, can get unemployment.
Yeah.
It took many months because they were so backed up, but when that came through, it was great. And then it actually ended up helping us because for the next 2 years, like people weren't doing as much. So instead of scheduling a normal vacation, they were like coming to us. So
Mm.
there was like a lot of weeks where we were just booked to the brim, which is amazing. Like booked to the brim with couples boudoir.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good in like 2021 was a really good year for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting in life. I don't know if you knew this going into it, but you find out that like obviously there's ups and downs, especially in business
Yeah.
and in life in general. Like it's certainly not always going to go up. At some point, it's going to go down. At some point, it's going to level out, and you have to be like ready and aware for that. I
Yeah.
remember there was a point in time where I was in business myself, and I only thought it was going to keep going up. Like I literally
Yeah.
had no plan for anything else. And then when it went down, I took it hard because I just
Yeah.
was not. My mind just didn't see it happening that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, luckily that you had something to help you get through that
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. It was rough at the beginning because I'm like, is there going to be a business even left?
Yeah,
So, but yeah, and then it sprang back the other way. So that was crazy.
yeah, that's awesome. How do you yourself, because when people come to you, you know what they're coming to you for. It's either
Yeah.
lift up or celebratory event, but you're going through things yourself. Like how do you be that beacon of light for them and be what you need to be when you're going through things yourself?
Yeah.
Like how have you been able to do that?
Yeah, and I think that's definitely been a struggle over the past 2 years is like figuring that out. And so I think that's what's led me to search for all these tools. Like, okay, so my toolbox no longer work the way it used to. Well, what do I need more of? And so along the way, that's where I've tried like EMDR and tried EFT tapping and tried all these other things and gone to a lot of people for advice and it's a slow process, but really what I've been landing on recently is breath work is kind of kind of the key, and just like in the morning having your morning routine that um, like figuring out all those little pieces that get you in the right mindset for the day. And for me it's like this routine of putting on like music, like sometimes like tribal drumming, sometimes it's just like really positive songs, or really like upbeat dance music in the morning to just try and like lift the fog off and get ready for the day. And sometimes I'm doing breath, those 3 minutes 6 minutes of breath work, or a guided meditation. It's just like figuring out whatever it's going to take to get into that place where I'm ready to be with clients. And I've had to like push back the time that clients are coming in just to make sure that I am ready. Like the time that most clients come in is 11 a.m. So I might do a call before that, um,
Oh, that's
and
good.
do other work. But like I've had to realize like when it was at 10, I just didn't. My mind wasn't ready to work at the place that I needed to be. Like I was still working through whatever remaining stuff was there, and so now I'm getting to the place where I have a good morning routine and like playing this music and all these little things. Like sometimes I'll do a real light breath work in the car that's guided. You can't do anything heavy because you can get dizzy.
Yeah.
But I have a real like light breath work, and I'll listen to some audiobooks that are usually positive about business or um, self improvement or whatever, or like different clips on YouTube. I'll listen to somebody on YouTube for the whole trip in to the studio, just so that I am in the right mindset. Because yeah, until I get to the place, because a lot of mornings I wake up with like what people would say are the Sunday scaries, like all the things that can go wrong, like all those thoughts. A lot of days I do wake up in a negative place, and I have to work myself out of that with the different tools in the toolbox.
Yeah, that's
So
interesting. I'm glad that you shared that because me, if I was thinking about, I wouldn't see that for you because I just see like, a successful business owner doing well, thriving on social media, but that's the only,
yeah,
small piece of, your life that I know. So yeah, that's the part that
yeah,
I see and I think that it's all that.
yeah,
And of course it's not that. But I
yeah,
like the way that you just described that because I feel like you just helped me as well too. And the message that I got from it is just be intentional,
yeah,
about like curating your mornings to make sure that
yeah,
you're ready to go out there in the world. Because if you don't, it could be shitty, it could be a
yeah,
shitty day if you just let it go how it
yeah,
goes based on whatever's happening in the world or the
yeah,
news you read or tripping over something, stubbing your toe, whatever. So
yeah,
yeah, you have to be intentional about
yeah.
getting yourself ready.
Yeah, and there's other things that I've done. Like some mornings on the way to work, I'll stop at a park. I'll even do grounding, which is like taking off your socks and
Hmm.
shoes and
Yeah,
walking in the grass.
yeah,
Which
love
when
it.
it's really cold, that really wakes you up. But some of those things are just getting in, like a like a half mile in the morning or a quarter mile in the morning, just walking through trees, especially evergreens. I've heard. So I have this section of a park that's in between my house and my work, that has evergreens, and so just walking through that little section, because any time of the year it's still green,
Yeah.
and seeing that green color and smelling what they put off is like forest bathing. Like I don't have to run or
Mm.
anything. I can just even walk through there 15 minutes, be on my way, and like that's another reset. So I have all these like little resets, um, and I just keep on collecting more and more tools.
Yeah.
So if one doesn't work, I can try something else. But yeah, it does. For me, it takes time. Like I feel like I'm slow, not slow to wake up, but I'm slow if I wake up in a bad place with all those like anxiety and
Hmm.
fear things. Um, because yeah, I'm a business owner. I can't, like, I don't have the luxury of getting on social media and being grumpy. Like
Yeah.
that, like nobody's gonna want to come
Yeah.
to the studio if that's the case. So yeah, for a while it was really difficult. And I think more recently, like I've got the right mix of things, and things are starting to get better. Because yeah, clients, you don't want them to pick up on negative energy, and there's certainly been days when I've been down, and I'm sure that clients knew, but like that's just not where I want to be.
Yeah.
So
Do you just fall back from social media when you feel like you're not projecting the kind of energy that you think the business or the people deserve?
yeah, but it happens naturally. Like especially in the last 2 years, it's like videos are the way to go.
Hmm.
So I don't have ideas for TikTok or Facebook Reels or whatever when I'm, when I'm really low energy.
Yeah.
Maybe I can post a picture, but like those fun creative ideas, they do take a lot, and that's why I think for me, like continuing like going to breathwork classes, like group ones, um, and doing daily breath work, whether it's 3 minutes, like because you always have 3 minutes in a day,
Yeah.
or doing a real light practice in the car that's not going to affect my driving. But it just processes those emotions and negative ideas, because our brain is just so good at spinning up like all these negative thoughts, like at least my brain is.
Yeah. Mine too.
So it's just not like they just don't serve the end result that I want. Like if I'm just thinking all these negative thoughts, like, like, oh, I didn't book that client yesterday. Like, and that spins and spins and spins. Like those things are just not helping me.
Yeah.
Um, they're natural, but like I got to get to a place where that energy and emotion, like, and I've tried things like qigong is great. So are you familiar with
No,
that?
what is that?
So like yoga is like an Indian practice, and qigong is a Chinese practice. So whereas yoga is a lot on the floor, um, of those stretches, if that's what you consider yoga
Mm,
being, but it's a lot more than that. But
yeah.
I'm just trying to explain it in a simple way. Whereas qigong is a lot of times you'll see like an older Asian man or woman in a park, and they're doing like these hand
The
motions,
movements, yeah.
these movements, and it's not exactly like martial arts, but it's related to that. But it's all about like getting the chi in your body, or what people call prana, that life force in your body flowing.
Yeah.
So like, depression is like just not feeling that life force. It's just like these repressed emotions, and um, for hundreds of thousands of years, people in other areas of the world figured out ways, and I'm sure like lots of native cultures that were here and in other places figured these things out. Um, but when we came over from like different places, some of that stuff was lost. And other cultures use dance.
Yeah.
Dance is the way that they do this. But qigong is just like these different movements, and so some days, I just slap down my body to get things woken up. But there's plenty of videos on YouTube that you can watch of different movements, but it kind of just wakes up the body, and processes. It's just like another way of processing emotion. It's just like yoga and breath work.
Yeah.
Like just, we got to get free from that mental clutter. And like one of the things that I've heard is the issues live in our tissues. Like it's just
Mm,
like stuff is
yeah.
stuck in our
You
tissues
got
and
a lot
our,
of good, verbiage for what
yeah.
we're going through here. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and I think this is the stuff that like a lot of people don't talk about, but they feel like, why do people feel better after they're done yoga? Well, they're stretching and moving stuff through their body, and um, I just prefer how you can stand and do this. So it's great. You're like getting out of the shower, getting ready for the day, just doing a few movements. It's kind of similar to sun salutation and that kind of stuff.
You have a lot of resourceful tools. Like, definitely,
Yeah.
you found a lot of tools for sure. You spoke to something earlier where you talked about, you call it forest bathing? Is that what you called it? Referred
Yeah,
to it? Yeah, I never
yeah.
heard
So
of that, but I obviously
that's like
understand what you
a
mean. And yeah, I wouldn't have never
yeah.
even thought of that. But and connecting and grounding. I wanted to ask you, do you think between connection and grounding and like shocking the system, like what do you think that is about there?
Um, I believe that we're electrical containers. So like we're electrical systems.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
so and
that makes
you know
sense.
the way that I've heard it is almost like if you think of Mother Nature, or a lot of spiritual people call Pachamama, which is like the Spanish word. But we've lost the connection with the rubber in our shoes, with the earth.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, I remember as a kid, I would always get shocked by door handles. Well, our electrical system is off,
Mm,
like when we're getting shocked like that. Um, so what I've heard, the research is that like this electrical mismatch causes inflammation. So the way to get rid of that, some people have blankets that they kind of plug into the wall, into the grounding part. I have one of those. but just going outside, taking off your shoes, and connecting with the earth makes the electrical system that we call our body kind of sync up with the earth. And the earth has a pulse too. So that's the other part. Like, and I think just modern fabrics and materials that aren't natural create a barrier against that. So that's my understanding. I don't know like how solid
No.
that research is, but I know that a lot of people claim that, you know, it inflames our body, that we don't have that connection in our shoes. You know, our shoes are not made of materials that can conduct electricity.
Yeah, inflammation is in the body is literally killing us.
Yeah.
Shit, I don't know why I keep losing thought. Something happened to me recently. I'm just gonna veer off real quick. I was taking nicotine pouches for
Uh-huh.
just the fun of it. I don't know why. I just looking
Yeah.
for like a spark, and it destroyed my stomach. I had to go to the
Oh,
ER and
oh my
everything. Like
God.
it destroyed my stomach. My stomach's still wrong, and I just had tremendous brain fog, and I feel like
Yeah.
it's still related to it. My blood
Yeah.
pressure went up, my heart rate was up. So
Oh, wow.
don't use nicotine pouches, kids. But yeah, so literally, I just lose thought more than I've ever lost thought in my entire life, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just keeps happening. But grounding and connection, it's just interesting because when you do both of those things, like you feel it, the cold bath, like something about that reset, what you said, shocking the system.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people have or haven't experienced it, but if you haven't, it does something, and I don't exactly
Yeah.
know what it does, but it's doing something. Like it's the best you probably like the best I've ever felt is after some of those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
This is the way that I've heard it, is that um, they've compared it to cocaine. So, you know, cocaine gives you these good vibes. I forget for how long, if it might be 15 minutes or whatever. It just gets this, I don't know if it's serotonin, dopamine, whatever
hmm
the chemicals in the brain,
yeah,
feeling good. Apparently, like when we jump into the cold bath, like those good chemicals are swimming around in a much safer, much more positive
yeah.
way for 6 hours. Like
Mm,
your body is in that state because of, you know, it puts it into a partial kind of shock state
yeah,
when your body's like, what the heck is going on? And
yeah,
it turns on different systems, which helps, you know, I've heard it helps burn fat and all that because of these cold shock proteins, but it creates those good vibes for 6 hours afterwards.
yeah. After I did a cold bath, I felt like I could run 300 miles. It was the
Yeah.
most amazing feeling in the world. I was like, this is crazy. The only way I could describe it, it just feels like like a slight high, like the kind of high you would
Yeah.
get if you were to puff a cigarette, with
Yeah.
that lightheadedness kind of feel
Yeah.
that you just feel. I was like, damn, this is amazing. I would do it every day if I could. I think I need to do it like now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
got a session coming up for certain.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've a lot of times I'll just turn the shower to cold at the end for like a minute and just try my best to stay under there as long as
Yeah.
possible, as long as possible. But I do have a tub and I gotta, you know, get some bags of ice
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. Have you ever done like an actual cold bath at a place or been in a Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I did one in my town. There's someone that does them. So I went there, and you know they dumped in all the bags of ice, and I think timed for I think it was either 3 or 5 minutes. It was intense. You know, in my house, I'll just fill up a container, you know, as much ice as my refrigerator will give me, and
Yeah.
put it on cold. I did that I think 2 days ago, but it's not anywhere close to putting 10 pounds of ice, you know, from an ice machine into your bathtub.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot.
So
It's pretty
it's intense.
Yeah, it's pretty hardcore. Something about it. I keep saying something about it because I don't quite know and I just haven't read enough about it and the experience is so new. It's like experiencing something that you didn't know that you could achieve naturally for the first time.
Oh
So like
yeah,
trying to like quantify it is like hard to put it into
yeah,
words. It's like I don't want to compare it to the birth of my child, but you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like that kind of complex of a feeling where you're like,
yeah,
what is this? How is this even possible? It's the greatest shit in the
yeah,
world. Everyone needs to do it.
yeah, yeah. I think so, especially if you're going through some shit, just try, try things, try healthy alternatives,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Was alcoholism, was that the thing that you hear my stomach's going crazy right now? Was
Yeah.
that the thing that made you reach for all these tools?
Yeah, I think like just stopping. So I was repressing emotions. That's
Mm,
what it was. I was pushing things down. I wasn't dealing with the emotions. And so, sadness and anger and all those things were like, because I wanted to be calm. I wanted to be calm. I didn't want to feel anxiety. And now I'm in the same place, but I'm like, well, what's a healthy tool that I
yeah,
can, because I still have those emotions inside of me, still have sadness or the wanting to repress things, wanting like owning a business is a roller coaster.
yeah.
So you got to
Stressful.
find, yeah, you got to find ways to deal with the stress that are healthy. Well, you take alcohol out of the equation because that wasn't healthy for me. Um, and then like, well, you're going to have to replace it with something. And the other thing that I've found is hiking and cycling. Like a lot of people who quit alcohol start cycling because it's just a natural. You get kind of that runner's high, but I don't like running. So same thing with hiking in nature. It's just like you get that forest bathing effect where you're around trees. They release something like pheromones or something that humans, like the evergreens, do. That humans puts them at a place of peace. Even tree hugging. They've studied tree hugging, and literally hugging a tree has positive effects. Like it's an antidepressant.
Yeah, I believe it all. You know, as we get older and become more knowledgeable about the things, like you realize pretty much everything works in the system. You know, like
Yeah,
everything in your body, everything. It's all a system. Like everything's all connected. Like the term, you know, when they say everything is everything, you know, and I feel
yeah,
like I just started to understand that recently. Like everything really is everything. It's,
yeah,
you know, it's love, it's
yeah,
anger, it's emotion, it's up, it's down, it's left, it's right. Like
yeah,
it is, you know, and it's all connected. So, yeah, I'm sure that shit, not to call it shit, but, you know, hugging a tree, I'm sure that there's some benefit
yeah.
to it.
Well, I
Absolutely.
think that we like this is all knowledge that indigenous cultures, like, you know, that have been here, that have been in South America, the cultures in East Asia, like they all knew this, and it's almost like we had the Industrial Revolution here, and we forgot it all. We got all this medicine, and we forgot about
Mm-hmm.
the power of herbs. Like um, I take something called L-theanine, or you can just drink green tea. It's what's in green tea, but it just calms you down. It's really a really good, for a lot of different things. But it's naturally occurring,
Yeah.
and it's easily. I mean, you can get green tea anywhere, but it has a calming effect. While still, green tea has caffeine in it, but it calms people because of this substance called L-theanine, which you can get on Amazon or whatever. But there's all these different plant, basically medicines that have been in different cultures. The the European culture kind of lost some of that stuff. Although some of them they use the Amanita muscaria, where we get the whole Christmas
Yeah.
story, the
Yeah. I
Santa
heard of that.
story
Mm-hmm.
from. So they have the red and white mushroom that makes it into Mario. So they did have a little bit of it, but all the other cultures, the Egyptians used blue lotus, and um, you know here they've used like different mushrooms, and also San Pedro and the different cactus. Um, and then in South America is ayahuasca, which is two different plants mixed together. And so there's all these different kinds of things that culture has used, and medicine's great, but it's not the only way. Like, I've been on antidepressants in my life, but it's not the only way to, there are different things. And now science is starting to, the last few years, science is starting to actually take a look. I know in Oregon they passed it, so they're doing therapist-led mushroom journeys
Yeah.
in there, and if you look close enough, you can find retreats in the United States that people who have the knowledge, medicine men and women, from Peru, from Ecuador, from Colombia, come up and do sort of tours administering ayahuasca in the United States. So there's all these things, these like just wisdom that we kind of lost,
Yeah.
and now it's coming back. And it was always here. The indigenous people held on to that wisdom for us, and I think we have to be very thankful that they did. And they're just different things that allow us to sort of um, you know go on a healing journey, and not hold to our truth, because our truth isn't the only truth. Our black and white thinking,
Yeah.
loosen up on those things. And that's what their um, different medicine, because they actually they use tobacco in a very sacred way, called rape or hape, depending on how you want to spell it. But it's tobacco snuff mixed with different herbs, um, and it goes up the nose, which is usually a part of some of these ceremonies. And it's definitely like a surrender medicine. It takes you to your knees. Um, so there's like it just takes you out for a few minutes, and you have to surrender to whatever you believe in,
Yeah.
whether it's Mother Earth or Father Sky, or God, or the universe, whatever, or your highest self, whatever. It creates this state of surrender for a few minutes where it just feels like fire going from the front of your head to the back. Um, and it's intense, but that's a way that they use tobacco.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like these ideas. A lot of the words that you're saying to me today, I've only heard here today for the first time in my life.
Yeah,
Surrender medicine, surrender and medicine, but I've never heard it used in that way, but I like the way it sounds. I think I need to
yeah,
try one of these surrender medicines.
yeah. There's another one that this one would be good. It goes into your eye. It's a plant from the banks of a river. Um, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna say the word right, but basically there are these eye drops from like the Amazon, and again it's pretty much similar to cutting up jalapenos and touching your eye. Like, it
Damn.
burns, but again it's like a cleansing surrender. Surrender to the universe, to God, or whatever you believe in, your
Hmm.
highest self. um, so there are just all these different ways that these beautiful medicine men and women have held on to for generations, and it's a shame what our culture for the last, well, hundreds of years have done to the holders of herbalism and plant medicines, burning witches at the stake when they were holding on to these sacred
Yeah.
medicines, and different uses for the plants in the area,
Yeah.
plants and herbs.
Which is strange, right? Because like all the pills and shit, it comes from plants originally. Like all the
Yeah,
medicine, it comes from this stuff originally. So when they try to
yeah,
act like these things have no healing properties,
yeah,
it's like how? You use them to make
yeah,
the pill. I don't get it. What are you
yeah,
saying? Doesn't make any sense. They just want to make money off it. And if they can't make money
yeah,
off it, it's not a viable option. But
yeah,
we know that that's not true at all.
yeah.
But yeah. Thank you so much for everything. For you've educated me a lot here on everything, and I appreciate you just coming and sharing and being vulnerable and creating the space that you have carved out and giving so much of yourself to it. Now that I hear it, definitely is. There's an emotional toll there,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you're giving up. So, I appreciate you honestly and for doing it
Thank you.
as long as you have, because like you said, having a business is stressful. So to give that much of yourself to it for this long, obviously out of necessity and choice.
Yeah.
So good for you, man. Appreciate you very much. How do people reach you? Can you tell?
Yeah, so they can go on the website Allebach Photography. That's spelled A-L-L-E as in Edward, B as in boy, A-C-H photography.com. Like you said, they can hit up Instagram, Couples Boudoir Guy. Those are the two easiest places that they can find out about Allebach Photography and booking a boudoir, couples boudoir, even family sessions. We love those.
Yeah, you do it all.
So,
Check it out. Couples Boudoir Guy, right?
yep.
Yeah, Couples Boudoir Guy. It's got amazing stuff. Check it out. You'll love it. I'm on there if you want to see me on there. He's on there if you want to see him on there. So thank you for joining us. Like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate you. Catch you next time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'd like to thank you for tuning in to The Awakened Avoidant. We hope our convo has provided you with insight, inspiration, and healing energy. As you go about your week, let's continue to work together to heal ourselves and our community. Stay safe and continue to spread healing vibes wherever you go. Catch a new episode Wednesday weekly on all platforms.
Strawberry vinaigrette in my fridge, made it from scratch, that's just what my life is. Picking my face and